Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is part 15. This will be video 2 of the JFK files. So like this page 15 here. And then these are all the documents. I've already done 5, but I have to do these separately because there's so many pages. Like this one has 7 pages. But I think it's worth going through them. So that's why I'm going to do it this way. So there's a dispatch, secret, yeah, Rybat, and then chief of Wolam, I think, and then chief of station London, chief Woe Muse, like WO Muse. I think that's what those are supposed to be. And then it's a cryptonym. So chief European division, chief LCPIPIT in London, and then MH Alpha, MH Probe, and RO Digas or Rotigas, maybe a name, I don't know. And that's reference OEPA 984, dated March or 18th of March 1968. The purpose of this dispatch is to raise what we believe to be an operational prospect worth careful study. The proposal is necessarily somewhat tentative at this point, but we believe it is desirable to share it with headquarters now in order that its early consideration may be facilitated. As you are aware, Rotagas has developed uh, excellent contacts with individuals active in the Paris SNCC. Identity A, who is one of these, has recently become increasingly active in the affairs of the N or SNCC group, which largely centers around several young girls recently arrived from the US and has come to play a rather important role since she brings to it a sophistication and an articulateness which the natural leader of the group likes, maybe, or lacks, excuse me, lacks. Identity A would not normally have become active in the SNCC group. She is older and holds moderate views of the sort held by the late Dr. Martin Luther King. However, she recently took a rather militant position at a public discussion of civil rights, primarily to avoid confrontation with and criticism by the SNCC girls, after which she admiringly besieged by the girls who were anxious to have her assistance in preparation of speeches, etc. In this, please, or in this regard, please see reference. Partly because she has the time and partly because she was flattered, Identity A accepted and has grown daily more involved in SNCC matters. At the moment, she is devoting virtually full time to this. They got a bunch of notes here: identity sheets, biographical data, Wolam, whatever, WO Muse, and then London continued, and then April 17th of 1968, and there's a file number. Rodriguez reports that Identity A is charming, highly female, definitely intelligent, and something of an actress in that she is often willing to tell people what they want to hear. Indeed, this is what she did at the public discussion mentioned above. At the same time, she's committed to the civil rights movement. You will note from the biographical data, which we are forwarding under separate cover, that she has worked in civil rights activities before and at one point assisted in the organization of a march led by Dr. King. Rodriguez, who is a personal friend of the family, she's divorced and has a teenage girl. In addition to being the representative of her publisher, has gotten to know her very well over the past years. He reports that she is basically a loyal, moderate, an anti-communist person who comes from a middle-class family in Detroit, where her parents were active in the anti-communist activities of the United States auto workers. At one point, Rodriguez had proposed her proposed her for possible use since she might be able to gain access to North Vietnam. This was rejected, however, because she was thought to be too moderate, respectable, and pro American to be of interest to the North Vietnamese. All this has been altered by her recent activity or involvement in the SNCC activities, and it is now Rodriguez's opinion that she offers what may be a unique opportunity to obtain the collaboration of someone in a position to report on the attempts by communists, Castroists, and radical forces to influence and use the civil rights movement. Through her involvement in SNCC, she has developed contacts with various groups which are flirting with SNCC, such as the French Vietnam National Committee, Vietnamese student groups, and the Che Guevara Circle, all targets of WO form. At the moment, she is the most glamorous figure the SNCC group has. When Identity maybe, or Emily Moore, the natural leader of the SNCC girls, returns to the U.S. this spring. Identity A could easily develop into a leading public representative at SNCC. Another candidate for a leading role in SNCC following the departure of Identity B is the Marxist-oriented Identity C, although she is somewhat shy and prefers to operate behind the scene. Thus, we can envision a situation where Identity A might become most influential, if only by default. Thus, Rodriguez is convinced that Identity A would be willing to collaborate with their government, but stresses that the approach to her would require great skill and must be done by an individual with whom she could feel rapport. He reiterates that she's sincerely anti communist and that she does not share the beliefs of the militant black racists. Although she certainly is a convinced advocate of the civil rights struggle, Rodriguez suggests that any approach to her must stress respect for her commitment to the civil rights movement. This approach should emphasize that communist exploitation of the movement is in the interests of neither the movement nor the nation, and should request her collaboration in reporting on foreign and only foreign attempts to exploit the situation. As an alternative to this direct approach, we believe that consideration should be given to the desirability of merely stating that because of her activity in the civil rights movement, she has been thrown into contact with Vietnamese, Cubans, etc., of interest to WO firm, and on whom we would welcome reports. This line has the virtue of having less blowback potential should our approach be declined, and we would hope that once a relationship with her had been established, she would volunteer information on SNCC and its foreign involvement. Reinforcing the approach, Rodriguez suggests that she be offered a small payment of, say, $200 per month to assist her in meeting the obligation of living abroad. This payment will be attractive to her since she is somewhat lazy. She's now living on a grant from Identity D, which is designed to give her the financial independence to write another book. However, she has done no writing yet and is beginning to be concerned regarding her source of income when the grant expires at the end of the year. This is of great importance in any approach to Identity A in Rodriguez's view. He stresses that she is becoming concerned regarding future income and may soon begin withdrawing from SNCC activities in order to begin writing. More importantly, her normal instincts may soon lead to falling out with Identity C and other radicals who are active as SNCC. If this happens, it can be expected to severely reduce her access Were she in contact with WO firm, however, such arguments with target personalities could be avoided through careful WO firm guidance. Thus, we are presented with what appears to be an opportunity to gain a collaborator who might be able to provide information of the highest interest regarding communist efforts to use SNCC and who might be able to gain access to various other radical groups, Cubans, Vietnamese, the personalities making up the SNCC groups, at least abroad, seem to be virtually unapproachable, and thus this opportunity may be almost unique. At the same time, there appears to be a rather critical time factor operative here. In addition, rather fundamental questions are raised by this possibility, which will certainly require careful consideration prior to any approach to identity A. We are impressed with the thoroughness of Rodriguez's assessment of this operational possibility and believe it warrants the impact of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King on Identity A and the other members of the SNCC group, although our guess is that it will only accelerate forces now in operation and render them important, even critical. The consideration of this proposal, we request that an appropriate clearance of Identity A be expedited and that we be advised as soon as possible whether or not headquarters wishes to pursue further the exploration of this proposal. Adrian B. Maslot. And then separate cover attachment 1 to OEPA 1050A identity. Oh, Carlene Hatcher Polite, Emily Moore, Julia Herv, and then the National Council of the Arts in the USA. And then resume Carlene Polite, 26 Rue de Lyonnais, something like that. Paris 5E, Port Royal 6652, birth date August 28, 1932, Detroit, Michigan, USA. Education, Detroit Public Schools, 1937 to 1949, with a diploma. Resident, student, employee, New York City, 1949 to 1959. Detroit, Michigan, Detroit Council for Human Rights, 8015 Grand River Avenue, Detroit 4, Michigan. Reverend C.L. Franklin is the chairman, May 1963 to November 1963. Coordinator, special assistant to the chairman. Duties and responsibilities included coordination of statewide organization for June 23rd, Walk to Freedom with Martin Luther King, Cobo Hall Arena, with cooperation of all related city and governmental departments, coordination and complete organization of the November 8th through 10th, 1963 Northern, I'm not using that word, Black Leadership Conference. Let's see, Michigan State Democratic State Central Committee, 847 The Book Building, Washington Boulevard, December 26th, or Detroit, 26th, Michigan, August 1962 to May 1963, Assistant Office Manager, Spring Electoral Campaign of 1963, was a coordinator, and Citizens for Sound Government, 1601 Washington Boulevard Building, District, Detroit, 26th, Michigan. And then December 1962 to February 1963, Executive Secretary. In January 1963, elected by the voters of the 13th Congressional District, State of Michigan, to the Michigan Democratic State Central Committee. Let's see what page 7, okay. And then page 3 of her resume is New York City, 1949 to 1959. A student dancer, Martha Graham School, a contemporary dance company member. Edith Stephen dance group, I don't know what this YMHA 92nd Street. Oh, Young Dancers Concert Series. Dancer, a model opera, Metropolitan Opera, dancer, an actress, the boyfriend, Dark of the Moon, the Disenchanted, Children's Theater, The King and I, office manager, Vanguard Playhouse, Equity Theater, Detroit, September 1960 through June of 1961. Addenda, guest artist, Wayne State University, Detroit Conversations in the Arts of 1960, guest instructor of dance, Wayne State University Dance Workshop, dancer teacher, YWCA, Cranbrook Academy of the Arts, Detroit Department of Parks and Recreation, dancer, model for nationwide television, National Auto Show, and then representing General Motors, Chevrolet Division, November 1963 through August 1964, Detroit Playboy Club, the Bunny Viva, whatever that is. Anyway, that's one of the documents of the 4 that I have to make recordings for. Sorry if there were pauses in there. My dog will not stop bugging me. But anyway, this is the second video for part 15 of the JFK docs. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Talk to y'all later. Bye.